Dad, he's on the floor. He's on the floor. Let's get the camera over. Get the camera over. Because the cameras were all over the place. And suddenly, like, cameras appeared and they were all pointing in my face.
Your second failure
Mm.
is when you were working in television. So you make the transition from elite sport to TV presenting. Honestly, it's just unfair that you're good at so many things. And you climb a volcano for a BBC documentary in 2005. Why is it a failure?
I So the documentary was called Beyond Boundaries, and the idea of the documentary was to send a group of us all with different disabilities to Nicaragua in Central America, and to go from the Caribbean side to the Pacific side. Um, and I was really searching for a challenge. I was on my way to leaving basketball. I was uh, really in the direction of retiring in my mindset, and I wanted another challenge. I wanted something that would really, really push me. And I remember doing this and finding the first couple of stages quite easy. Like everyone else was like struggling and moaning and whinging. I feel bad to say this, but I was like, I was loving it. You know, you're traveling through the Nicaraguan jungle. We had like howler monkeys screaming at us and, you know, picking mangoes from trees and setting up your tent in the middle of the jungles, the beautiful vista, wonderful wildlife. It was just like, to me, it was like, this is life, man. This is life. But it wasn't hard. It just felt quite easy. And then we were told on the final sort of couple of days that we had to climb this volcano. I think it's called Volcan Concepcion in Nicaragua. And we came towards the volcano. As we approached the volcano, I remember seeing it and literally, you know, if have you ever seen something where you arrive and you see something and it takes up the whole skyline? Everything you can see is volcano. And you look at the top and you just see the peak of it with these wispy clouds just at the peak and this white sort of snow-capped bit. And you're just like, wow, we're gonna climb that. Like it's hard to even comprehend in your mind how you could get up that. And I felt like this is my moment. This is my moment to show people how strong someone with a disability can be. I'm gonna absolutely smash this, dominate it. I remember being on the side of the volcano with we had to do it in two parts. We started off on the shoulder of the volcano, which is about 1,000 feet up, and then we set off and to the top. And we set off at about 5 in the morning. We were told by expedition leader that we had till 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get to the top. If we didn't get to the top by 2 o'clock, or before 2 o'clock, he would turn us around and we'd have to come back because it would be too dangerous because it would get dark. I'm in a wheelchair, specially adapted wheelchair for the jungle. I've got who's Ammar Latif, who's blind. He was like pushing. Carl Sachs, a single leg amputee, was pushing. And we had, oh, I forget his name, that or another one of my friends who was out there with one arm, and he was pulling at the front. And I don't know if you've ever been up a volcano before.
No.
It's rocky, there's cloud forest. It's also the material on the volcano is like really it's shaling, it moves, it's constantly falling. Rocks are falling, and anyone who's ahead of you can dislodge rocks and they'll come, and a few rocks would go past us and you'd see them go past you and you look behind you and they wouldn't stop. It would just keep dropping like for like hundreds of feet. And if that happened to any of us, that's exactly what would happen. You just keep falling until you landed in the ocean. Um, and so we're making our way up this volcano, and they're pulling, I'm pushing. And after about 2 hours, my group had only traveled 20 meters, and the rest of them were quite far ahead. And the expedition leader, I remember Ken Hames stopping them, and I could see them up in the distance. And he had his hands on his hips, and then he came. We caught up to them after another hour, and he said, "Look, I'm gonna have to make this decision. You guys are either gonna have to go back, because Addy's not gonna make it up there in time, or Addy goes back on his own, and, the rest of you go up. And I knew this point was gonna come, and this is why I went there, to challenge myself, but I didn't think it was gonna come in this way. Sometimes when you challenge yourself and you really go for a challenge that finds your edges, unexpected things happen. You know, even though you're expecting it to challenge you, they even surprise you. And at this point, I was like, I'm gonna have to do something that I've never done before, and that I've always wanted to avoid. And I could hear him talking, and I could see his mouth moving, but I wasn't listening. I was like, I'm gonna have to get out of the chair because he is trying to take control of my situation. And this is what I've fought all my life for, to have control of my life. This is why I've trained and worked so hard to be fit so I could judge myself. I could tell myself what I could and couldn't do. You know, as a disabled person, you spend your life hearing people trying to tell you what you can and can't do and what you're capable of. So I just got out of the chair. And as I got out of the chair, I just like, I'm getting up this volcano one way or another. I don't care how I get up it. I'm just going to get up it. And I just started crawling. And I remember all of them looking at me just thinking, what is he doing? Because it was a live volcano and it was boiling hot, burning hot. So every time I was touching the ground, I could feel it burning my hand, burning my knees. And you could smell the sulfurous fumes coming out of the volcano. So I'm crawling and scrambling up the volcano. And I'm getting emotional because I'm also thinking, like, this is going to be on TV and thousands, maybe millions of people are going to watch me who sees himself as a really strong guy on my hands and knees crawling up a volcano. I was like, "What the this is just." And it sort of made me think about when I was a kid and sometimes when I'd fall on the floor and I'd, like, crawl around and some of the kids would start laughing at me and calling me, like, Black Monkey and making monkey noises and stuff like that, and I was like, "Here it is all over again. Everyone's gonna suddenly think you're not this guy who you're cracked up to be. You're just this weak guy who's crawling on the floor. Um, and my chair is what I saw as my power and my strength. And I left my power and my strength behind, and I was getting further and further away from it. And obviously, I know how TV works. I could hear him on the walkie-talkie. It's like, "And he's on the floor. He's on the floor. Let's get the camera over. Get the camera over." Because the cameras were all over the place. And suddenly, like, cameras appeared and they were all pointing in my face. And you're in this really vulnerable moment where you feel emotionally naked and cameras are pointing at you. And I just lost it and started to cry. And I swore at the camera and I was just like, why? Leave me alone. I don't need this. And but I was also in my mind, it's a TV program, duh. But I was like, oh, this is just horrible. It's horrible. I just want to do this in private. And me crying and swearing and breaking down all the way up, I just felt really embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I just felt I had so many different feelings, and I was really, really worried that when they showed this on TV, because I knew they were going to show it, I was like, "There's no way I could say anything for them not to show it, because they're going to show it." I was like, "Oh, I'm going to just get people bombarding me, calling me a cripple, or calling me a weakling, or all of this sort of stuff." Um, and to my shock, I got, a text from Daley Thompson, who is a good friend of mine that we'd met, that year, and he was a hero of mine as well. I grew up watching him and he inspired me, and he sent me a text saying, "Just watched your show. I was in tears all the way through." He goes, "You're an absolute hero. I can't believe you done that." And I was just like, that doesn't even compute with how I was seeing myself. What that those 2 things don't line up, and then suddenly loads of other people started contacting me and telling me how amazing they thought it was, and it just suddenly made me think, "Oh, shit, it was fine. it was fine to break down. It was fine to be vulnerable. But it comes from a period where we're not allowed to show that back then you weren't really allowed to show vulnerability. And I came from sport as well, where, you had to be like strong. And if there was anything that was really bugging you or tough, you pushed it to one side. And then to suddenly show my vulnerability and people not hate me for it was a real shock for me. And I thought I'd failed, genuinely thought I'd failed, and I'd let the disabled community down.
I hope you enjoyed that video. Be sure to check out the full episode of How to Fail wherever you get your podcasts. And also make sure you're following us on social media for all the latest updates.